All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Bostic back with another Photoshop tutorial. This is part two of our Christmas project um, for the Harley Middle School CTLA Academy. Right now, this is what we have so far. We're working on making this. All right, this is going to be our final product, but right now we are here, and very soon we will take this from being here to being here. All right, so here we go. What we should have is um, a 500 pixel by 500 pixel document, a colored background um, made by using a layer style. And this was something that a lot of my students were having questions with is this background is filled with a color. All right, but notice you don't see that color. All you see is the gradient overlay. The gradient overlay layer style completely covers the color that you put in on your layer. But it really doesn't matter what color you put on the layer because it's not going to show. Your gradient overlay is going to cover over that. So, got a background layer with a gradient overlay. All right, so there's that there. All right, we've got another layer that creates our table right here. So it was originally filled with green also because that just so happened to be what one of my either my foreground or background. I don't know what it was, but one of those colors. But fill it, add your layer styles to make the color you want and the look you want, and then I added a mask to mask out what I didn't want to see, so I have my table. Um, you've got a globe, you've got the snow inside of the globe, trees, a couple different trees, snowman base, you got the different parts of your snowman, an eyes layer, nose, falling snow, and a glare. All right. So we have next that we're going to do is make the base of our snow globe. All right. Now to do that, we're going to make a selection. And the way I did it on the other one is I just made a elliptical selection that was about the same size as my actual globe. So I held shift and I made it, roughly the same size. And then I dropped it down and worked it like that. And then I used my rectangular marquee tool and I just chopped it off. So I wanted to subtract it from the selection by holding down my option key and, subtracted the part there, subtracted a section here and a section here. And then this shape that I end up with is the shape that I have. I'm going to do it a little bit differently because I can really model this however I want, but I don't really like how round this bottom piece here is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect that and I'm going to make it myself. Use my elliptical marquee tool and I'm going to make a nice long shape, kind of like this on my space bar so I can move the whole shape. But I'm still on my mouse, holding my space bar so I can move the whole shape. When I let go of my mouse, I can still change the size of my shape. But I like a little bit of a smaller curve there. Then I'm going to do the same thing, go back to my rectangular marquee tool and use my option key and subtract a section over here, subtract a section over here, and it really doesn't matter, it's going to be hidden, but I'll level it off there. All right. I don't really like that. That's a little too flat. I'll try it one more time. So there's nothing wrong with redoing something, guys. Nothing wrong with it at all. All right, maybe I want to do something like that. Maybe, yeah, like that round better. So use my elliptical, use my rectangular, holding option to subtract my sides. I like that a little bit better. I think that looks better. Okay, so I've got this shape where I want. All right, I'm gonna fill that shape with a color. All right, use my keystroke to fill with a background color. Option delete. Well, first I need to make a new layer. All right, and I'm gonna name this layer globe base. All right, I'm gonna fill that layer with my background color. So command delete, fill with the background color, and there it is. I could do option delete and fill it with white. It really does not matter because I'm gonna add a layer style to it, so it is what it is. So got my shape, deselect, double click on the right side of my globe base layer so I can get to my options. And I am going to add a gradient overlay. So boom, there it is. My settings, I'm gonna leave this at normal. Opacity is gonna be 100, but I do want to change the colors on my gradient. All right, so grab that. I'm in my color, my gradient editor. I'm going to change the color of this left side here by double clicking on the swatch box at the bottom of the gradient. All right, the color I'm gonna use here, I'm gonna type in a number 3D. Give me a gray. All right, on the far side over here, this is already white, but I know I want to have white kind of in the middle here somewhere, so I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna make a duplicate of this swatch since it's already white. If I hold down Option and I click and hold on it and I pull off, I now have two of them. All right. This one I'm gonna leave at white. This one I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna change its color to let's see, DC. All right, give me like a gray. All right, and this one, notice as I move it, this location changes. I'm gonna put this one around 80%, anywhere between 75 and like 85 will work. All right, and I've got my gradient. Okay, my style I want linear. I want it going from one direction to another. But my angle right now is going up and down. I want it going left and right, and I want the lighter side towards this brighter side of the image. So I'm gonna put my angle at 0. All right, and that gives me that brighter side over here versus having having my bright side on the dark side. All right, so there we go. I've got that. I'm gonna say okay. Now, right now that's sitting on top of my globe, and as you know, in your layers, it's set up in a hierarchy. Whatever sits at the top of the stack sits closest to your eyes. So right now, my globe base is closer to me than my actual globe itself. So I'm gonna take my globe base and I'm gonna reorder it, and I'm going to put it below all of this other stuff. I want it below the globe. So I'm gonna drag it and see there's a line that you can see popping around. There's a dark line telling me where this layer is going to go when I let go. So I want it underneath the globe layer. When I let go, my globe is now sitting on top of my base. Okay. Lastly, I am going to make a shadow because if there's light coming in this direction, it would cast a shadow. So it looks a little unnatural if there's no shadow there. So to do that, I'm going to make an ellipse, elliptical marquee, and I'm just going to drag it out using shift to make a perfect circle. And I'm just going to put it doesn't have to be big because the shadow is not going to be as big, and just put it like there. There we go. All right, I'm going to fill that. Well, I'm going to make a new layer. Go now. If I got my globe base selected, if I make my new layer, it's going to put the layer right above it, and I'm going to name this shadow. All right, and fill it with my background color, which right now is black. All right. Excuse me. Sorry. Got my black. I'm gonna deselect that. And what am I gonna do now? I am going to blur that out because it's not gonna. I don't want it to be sharp. I'm gonna filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and How much blur do I want? Maybe drag it up. What do I get? 4.5 stars looking good. Somewhere around here. I'll say between 4.5 and maybe 6.5, 6.0, somewhere around there. I don't know. But whatever looks good for you, go ahead and blur that out. Say okay. And then right now, our shadow is not going to be jet black like that. So I'm going to take the opacity of the layer and drop it down way low. About like 15%, maybe 21%, somewhere around there. All right, you be the judge. And I've got my shadow there, and my shadow is also sitting on top of my globe, which at that angle, the shadow wouldn't be there, it'd be on the table. So I drop this shadow layer below that there. And the last little thing I have is that the shadow is casting on this area of sky or whatever hanging off the table, which it wouldn't do. So I'm just going to simply add a layer mask. All right, I'm going to use my mouse isn't working too well. My polygonal lasso tool, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Click there and line this up so that it lines up pretty much with the table, and go up, over, back down, connect it, and I'm going to fill this area since I have my mask selected. I'm going to fill that area with black because I want anything inside that area to be not seen. Black hides. So fill it with my background color, Command delete and deselect. Um, and there we go. We've got our shadow. All right, now our snow globe is done. All right, officially. So, what I'm gonna do, what we have next to do is we have our Christmas word, our snowy, bubbly Christmas, and the rest of our text that we're gonna put in. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all of these layers and I'm gonna group them because I want my snow globe to be able to be moved and resized and all that kind of stuff. So just make a new group, click on the create new group button. I'm gonna name this group Snow Globe. All right, I'm gonna put it at the top of my list and I'm gonna grab everything in between. So I'm clicking my glare, everything except for the table and my background. So I'm gonna hold shift, select everything in between, and I'm gonna grab the layer, I'm gonna drag it up and put it inside of my snow globe group. Notice there's a box there's a darker line going completely around the snow globe layer. If I put it up here, notice the line goes above it. That means all those layers are just gonna go above the group, but I want it to go in the group. So make it go around, let go, and you see that they all now have this gap next to it. So if I hide this group, I've got room in there. And if I grab the group, the group, I go to my move tool, I can now move the entire um, snow globe. I can change the size, Command T, and resize it, holding Shift to make it as big or whatever as I want. All right, but I don't want it that big yet because I'm gonna make my text, so I'm just gonna undo that. And according to my other one, I put it over here in the corner, so I'm just gonna do that again. It's up to you where you end up putting yours. Um, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and make our text. To make my text, I'm first going to just type my text. So I went to my type tool, and remember in Photoshop, unless you're typing like paragraphs or whatever, you have a specific area you want to stay in. I don't recommend clicking and dragging a box. I would just click one time, click and release, and type your word. The word I'm going to type is Christmas. I think I'm going to do it all caps. Christmas. Okay. Who cares? My letters are red and I don't want them red. Big deal. It's Photoshop. We can always change stuff. All right. So I've got it done. And I'm going to say OK by clicking on the checkbox, the check mark on the tool options bar. or I could switch tools and go back to type. That was the old way I used to do it all the time. But